Gratitude is often seen as a natural response to goodness, a reflex of the heart when we receive love, kindness, or blessings. It's easy to be thankful when everything is falling into place, when dreams are coming true, when the road ahead is clear and the sun is shining. In those moments, gratitude flows effortlessly. We feel it in our bones, in the warmth of joy, in the relief of ease. But that kind of gratitude, while beautiful, is only the surface layer. It's the gratitude that's expected. It doesn't require much reflection, much struggle, or much inner strength. It's reactive, a response to gain. But there's another kind of gratitude, a deeper kind, the kind that is forged, not found, the kind that is built in the fires of hardship, where there are no easy answers and no visible silver linings. That kind of gratitude doesn't wait for life to be good. It chooses to see the good even when life is not. This is the kind of gratitude that doesn't rely on perfect circumstances. In fact, it grows best in imperfect ones. It emerges in the quiet moments of despair, when we look around and still find something, however small, to hold on to. Maybe it's the strength to get out of bed when we feel broken. Maybe it's the comfort of a friend who doesn't have answers, but chooses to stay. Maybe it's the lesson we never wanted to learn, but now carry with reverence. It's in these difficult moments, when our hearts are aching and our spirits feel worn, that gratitude becomes a conscious act of will. It is no longer a reaction but a decision. It becomes something we reach for, not because we feel like it, but because we need it. To stay grounded, to stay human, to stay connected to something greater than our suffering. This kind of gratitude is defiant. It says, life may hurt, but I will not be blinded by the pain. It allows us to see beyond the immediate wound and notice the thread of grace still running through our days. Maybe frayed, maybe faint, but still present. And in that realization, we begin to reclaim our power, not by ignoring what's hard, but by choosing to see that the hard moments don't erase all that's still good. Pain is one of life's most feared and misunderstood experiences. Our natural instinct is to avoid it, to run from it, to silence it as quickly as possible. We numb it, deny it, distract ourselves from it, anything but sit with it. And yet, pain holds lessons that comfort never could. It carries truths that are often hidden in plain sight, but only come into focus when everything else falls away. Pain, though unwelcome, is often the doorway to our most significant growth. If we are willing to listen, in the deepest seasons of hardship, it is easy to feel consumed by the unfairness of it all. We ask, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? But over time, if we allow ourselves to stay with those questions without turning away, they begin to transform. The pain doesn't vanish, but its shape changes. Instead of resisting it, we begin to explore it. Instead of closing off, we open up, and that opening creates space for revelation. What pain teaches us isn't always obvious at first. It's not like a teacher standing in front of a whiteboard, explaining things neatly. It's more like a sculptor, slowly, painfully carving away what we thought we needed, what we thought we were, until what remains is something truer, something more whole, even if it's also more scarred. Pain can teach us the value of presence, because when we suffer, we become hyper-aware of the moment. We are brought face to face with ourselves, stripped of pretense. Pain can teach us humility. It shows us we are not invincible, not in control of everything, and yet still capable of surviving. Pain can teach us empathy, because once we've suffered, we carry a deeper understanding of what it means for others to hurt. We stop judging so quickly. We start listening more deeply. But these lessons don't come automatically. Pain on its own doesn't make us wise. It is our openness to it, our willingness to face it honestly, that turns suffering into insight. If we shut ourselves off, become bitter, or numb ourselves entirely, we might survive the pain, but will miss the message it was meant to deliver. Growth doesn't happen just because something was difficult. Growth happens because we stayed awake within the difficulty. When we bring gratitude into this process, it acts like a lens. It doesn't remove the pain, but it helps us see more clearly through it. Gratitude says, "This is hard, but maybe there's something here for me to learn." It invites us to be students of our own suffering. And when we begin to view our pain not just as something to endure, but as something that can inform us, we start to transform. We begin to realize that some of our most, when life is calm, when routines are smooth and relationships feel stable, it's easy to feel grounded. But storms, emotional, physical, or spiritual, have a way of shaking everything we thought was certain. Grief, betrayal, financial hardship, illness, failure. These experiences can feel like waves crashing relentlessly against the structure of our lives. In those moments, we often feel adrift, as though we are clinging to pieces of ourselves in the dark, searching for anything solid to hold onto. That's where gratitude comes in, not as a cure, not as a magic solution, but as an anchor. It doesn't stop the storm, it doesn't make the pain disappear, but it holds us, it steadies us, it reminds us, even in our chaos, that there is still something to lean on, something that hasn't been taken from us, something that still matters. Gratitude in a storm is not loud or showy. It's often quiet, a small, flickering light in the middle of deep emotional winds. It may be as simple as being thankful for a single friend who stayed, or a moment of peace in an otherwise anxious mind, or the fact that even when everything feels like it's breaking, we still have breath in our lungs, which means the story isn't over yet. When fear grips us or grief paralyzes us, our minds tend to spiral. We latch onto worst-case scenarios, replay painful memories, and lose touch with the present moment. Gratitude interrupts that spiral. It shifts our focus, not by ignoring reality, but by expanding it. Instead of being consumed by what's wrong, we become aware of what's still right. That shift can be subtle, but it's powerful. It gives us perspective. It helps us remember that pain is real, but so is beauty, and they can coexist. Think of a ship tossed by waves. It doesn't stay safe because the water stops moving. It stays grounded because its anchor holds firm beneath the surface, tethered to something deeper. Gratitude is like that anchor. It attaches us to the deeper truths beneath our circumstances, to faith, to memory, to hope, to love. It reminds us of who we are beyond what we're going through. And in that anchoring, something else begins to happen. We begin to find our center again. Not because the storm has passed, but because we've remembered that we have something to stand on, something to return to. Gratitude, in that way, becomes an act of survival. It's a declaration that even when the world is shaking, we will not be undone. We may bend, we may fall to our knees, but we will not lose ourselves completely. When we experience pain, especially the kind inflicted by others, betrayal, neglect, injustice, or abandonment, resentment feels like the natural response. It gives us something to hold on to, something to protect ourselves with. It becomes a shield, a form of emotional armor. We think, if I stay angry, I stay safe. If I hold on to what they did, I won't let them hurt me again. And for a while, that resentment may even feel empowering. It feels like a form of control in a situation where we felt powerless. But over time, resentment stops being armor and starts being poison. It corrodes from within. It keeps wounds fresh. It ties us emotionally to the very thing that hurt us. Resentment traps us in the moment of our pain, forcing us to relive it every time we recall it. And what's worse, it tricks us into believing that healing is impossible without an apology, a reversal, or revenge. It convinces us that unless justice is served exactly as we imagine it, peace will forever be out of reach. This is where gratitude becomes radical, because it offers a completely different path. Gratitude doesn't ask us to pretend the pain didn't happen. It doesn't minimize the harm. It doesn't excuse what was done. What it does is reclaim our emotional energy from the grip of bitterness. Gratitude says, yes, I was hurt. Yes, it was unfair. But I will not give the pain permission to dominate the rest of my life. A gratitude allows us to find something redemptive in the experience, not necessarily in what was done, but in how we've grown in response. It shifts the focus from the wrongdoer to the wisdom we've gained. Maybe we became stronger, more aware, more resilient. Maybe the pain uncovered parts of ourselves we had neglected, parts that now deserve our attention. Maybe it redirected our path towards something more authentic. Gratitude helps us begin to say, even though this hurt me, I am still becoming more of who I was meant to be. This choice, to be grateful in the face of deep pain, is not a denial of justice. It is the reclaiming of inner freedom. It says, you may have hurt me, but you do not get to define me. Resentment chains us to our past. Gratitude frees us to step into our future. What makes this choice so radical is that it goes against every instinct of the wounded heart. The heart wants to protect itself with walls, with anger, with coldness. But gratitude gently lowers those walls, not recklessly, but courageously. It softens the bitterness, not to make us weak, but to make space for peace. In choosing gratitude over resentment, we are not saying what happened was right. We are saying we deserve to move forward, even if what happened was wrong. And that, in its essence, is healing. Not forgetting the pain, but no longer being ruled by it. Gratitude is not a quick fix. It's a slow, steady transformation. It's the daily decision to say, there is still something in my life worth holding on to, something good, one of the most common misconceptions about gratitude is that it's a form of toxic positivity, a way of minimizing hardship, sugar-coating reality, or pretending everything is fine when it clearly isn't. People often assume that if you're expressing gratitude during painful moments, you must be in denial or naive or simply trying to escape the weight of what you're feeling. But real gratitude, the kind that lives side by side with suffering, is nothing like that. It doesn't ask you to smile through your tears or fake your way through grief. Instead, it invites you to look deeper into the pain and ask, is there something in this that still matters? Something I can take with me? Gratitude doesn't erase sorrow, nor does it soften the blow of heartbreak. What it does is shift how we perceive our pain. It creates a new lens, one that allows us to see that even our most difficult experiences can serve a purpose beyond the suffering itself. This doesn't mean that everything happens for a reason in some neat, comforting way. Life is often far messier than that. But purpose can emerge from pain, even when it wasn't built into it. Think of someone who has endured the devastation of loss, the death of a loved one, for instance. Gratitude doesn't say, be glad they're gone. It says, be thankful you had them at all. Be thankful for what they taught you, for the love you shared, for the way they shaped your heart. The pain remains, but it is not empty. It becomes laced with memory, with meaning, with the unshakable truth that what once was still matters. Gratitude helps us hold that truth gently, like a sacred weight we're meant to carry forward. Or consider a failure, a dream that didn't come true, a job that slipped away, a relationship that fell apart. Gratitude doesn't deny the sting. It doesn't rush us past disappointment. What it does is ask, what did you discover about yourself in the process? What strength did you uncover that you didn't know you had? What new path was revealed because this one closed? Purpose is not always clear in the moment, but gratitude helps us trust that it's unfolding and that our pain might one day serve as someone else's guidepost or comfort. This is what makes gratitude so powerful. In times of suffering, it doesn't require us to feel good in order to be meaningful. It requires us to stay awake, to remain engaged with our lives, even when they hurt, and to believe, however faintly, that something worthwhile can still come from this. It invites us to explore the idea that pain can be more than just a burden. It can be a bridge to deeper self-awareness, empathy, and wisdom. Gratitude allows us to ask different questions about our experiences. Not just, how do I get past this? But, what is this moment shaping in me? It teaches us to look at our scars, not just as reminders of what broke us, but of what built us. It transforms our relationship with pain from one of resistance to one of respectful observation. Not acceptance in the sense of approval, but in the sense of understanding. And in that understanding, something subtle but profound begins to happen. Pain becomes less like a wall and more like a window, not a barrier, but a view into who we are becoming. Gratitude doesn't make the wound go away, but it brings meaning to the resilience is often spoken of in terms of toughness. The ability to endure, to push through hardship, to keep going no matter the cost. But true resilience is more nuanced than sheer endurance. It's not about suppressing emotion or pretending to be strong when you're breaking inside. Real resilience is about bending without breaking, about feeling deeply and still moving forward, about being wounded but not letting the wound define you. And one of the quietest, most powerful sources of that kind of resilience is gratitude. A heart that practices gratitude doesn't become immune to pain, but it becomes stronger in how it carries it. It becomes skilled at identifying what remains even after loss. It remembers that even when something has been taken away, not everything is gone. It holds onto the threads of meaning, of connection, of hope, however fragile they may seem in the moment. And it uses those threads to stitch itself back together. Bit by bit, day by day, gratitude fosters this resilience because it shifts the focus from what is missing to what is still present. It trains the mind and heart to acknowledge hurt without being consumed by it. It strengthens our emotional muscles by constantly reminding us that even in darkness, light exists, sometimes in small flickers, sometimes in steady beams, but always available if we choose to see it. And this mindset doesn't just help us survive, it helps us recover more deeply and rebuild with intention. When we cultivate a grateful heart, we begin to develop inner stability. We become less reactive to external chaos because we've developed an internal compass. Gratitude anchors us to our core values: love, faith, courage, humility, and these values help us navigate life's hardest seasons with grace. We're not just tossed around by every storm. We become people who can stand in the middle of it and say, "This is hard, but I am not destroyed. There is still something in me that is whole." Gratitude also helps us to keep perspective. It stops us from falling into the trap of all or nothing thinking, where we believe everything is ruined just because something has gone wrong. It reminds us that life is layered, that joy and sorrow, beauty and loss, strength and weakness can coexist. This understanding creates space for emotional flexibility, which is a cornerstone of resilience. We don't have to feel only one way. We can feel grief and gratitude, fear and faith, hurt and healing. And learning to hold those tensions without falling apart is what makes us resilient. Furthermore, a grateful heart doesn't just bounce back. It grows back. Resilience isn't about returning to who we were before the pain. It's about evolving into someone wiser, softer, and stronger because of it. Gratitude plays a vital role in that transformation. It helps us integrate our pain instead of denying it. It makes space for reflection instead of reaction. And it reminds us constantly that we are not defined by what has happened to us. We are defined by how we respond, by what we choose to carry forward, and by the meaning we give to our experiences. In this way, a grateful heart becomes not just a tool for surviving,